Hi, everyone. I am Jason Morgan, editor of Fleet Equipment, and welcome to Fleet Equipment Unscripted, the video interview series that connects you with the top minds in the industry. Today, I'm talking with Jason Palmer, Chief Operating Officer at SmartDrive. Jason, how are you doing? How's work from home going? How are you supporting your customers there while you're staying safe?
It's been great. It's been, customers are doing well. Fortunately, the great job that all the fleets are doing out there and helping supporting all the initiatives that are going on. Excited to work with them and help them in any way we can. So there's been lots of interesting projects that have come up recently to help with social distancing and other things to help manage and work with the fleets that we've been operating on. But it's been, as you can see, I'm based in San Diego. We've had some great weather this week, so we're taking advantage of that.
Yeah, for sure. I am going to come shelter in place at your place because it's still
Yeah,
an icy tundra here in Ohio. Never mind the sun behind me. It is
yeah,
that'll cloud over here really pretty quick. Well, today we're talking about improving safety with video telematics. Every time, video telematics, I know that SmartDrive has been in the game for a while. But I think at the past year, maybe 2 years, it's really gotten a lot of interest. Definitely from our readership, every time we talk about it, people are interested. And even as you mentioned now, social distancing, not having the touch points that fleets might have with their equipment or their drivers gives them big visibility into what's going on out there, right?
yes, absolutely.
So now, talking safety, right? So when we talk about safety and telematics, hard braking alerts, collision mitigation, system activation, those are kind of the easy alerts that fleet managers see. But what are the common subtle driving behaviors that you can see in video that tend to lead to unsafe driving?
Yeah, I mean, I think what video helps bring to those common alerts is really the context, right? And so when you look at something, whether it's a hard braking event or a forward collision warning from a collision mitigation system, you get that alert, but you don't really. Video allows you to get that context of what's really actually happening. Are they merging in traffic and a vehicle pulled out in front of them, or were they following too close? And it's a training opportunity with the driver. And so video really allows you to get that context. A lot of times we'll refer to it as game films for drivers, right? Those game films for drivers help them to understand the context of what happened with that hard brake or that forward collision warning to really know what's addressed. And then on top of that, with a video-based safety service, a driving analyst, helps managers to be able to classify those different situations. So you can take that forward collision warning, but we then break that into the context of, was it a forward collision warning or braking that had to do merging in traffic, following too close? What was really the driving skill that defensive driving skill that the driver was needed improvement on and training in order to improve, or was it they're reacting to something that's happening in their environment and actually doing what they're supposed to avoid that dangerous situation? I think the other big trend that we're seeing is we had a 78% increase last year in installations with multiple cameras. So it's not only what's happening in front of the vehicle. Now we're starting to see a lot of the fleets that we work with add side cameras so that they really can see what's happening in and around the vehicle. And our drivers are dealing a lot with distracted, inattentive drivers that are out on the road, and a lot of that can happen, behind the driver, and we can help with that as well.
Right. Back in the days where I used to be able to leave my house and drive, I used to see those crazies on the road all the time too, and it is scary. I mean, you can just tell driving down the road, well, that guy's going to veer into my lane here pretty soon. On the cameras around or even the side cameras, is that an installation you do? Is that, I know there are mirror cameras offered by some companies. Can you integrate into that, or where do you put the camera when you do those side installations?
Yeah, it depends. Most of the time, it is on the mirrors, but we do them a variety of different ways. Sometimes it's at the OEMs. We're doing a large fleet right now where we're at the OEMs and we're connecting to the OEM cameras that are already on those windshields. Sometimes they want nicer cameras than what maybe comes with the OEM, and we're upfitting those literally at the factory. As the truck's being built, we add these additional nicer cameras for blind spot. And then fleets at times will have that integrated with a display in the vehicle or just there to be able to protect the driver. So there's a lot of different options, all of which then, can connect into our system, whether they don't have to be our cameras. And we
Okay.
try to be as flexible as we can to leverage the equipment that's already there on the vehicle.
Okay, yeah, and that's super interesting. I didn't know that the side cameras and blind spot cameras were that far along. I knew it was possible, but I didn't know that like it's on the road rolling now.
Yeah, I think it's, we're going to continue to see, as we talk to different OEMs, they're doing nothing but, more systems that have more cameras as those sensors become, more available to give better visibility in and around the vehicle for the driver.
Right. So going back to the safety and operation standpoint, um, how do you identify the behavioral trends? How do you know it's a behavioral tendency for a driver rather than just a one-off maybe moment where they made a mistake? You can kind of train or correct that versus something that you might have to instill in them long term. How do you identify those?
Yeah, I think, one of the key things within, the video safety market is really being able to take the, what we call triggers, which is really what is something that's an indication of something that happened on the road, hard braking, forward collision warning, and how do we translate that into a defensive driving skill? So you may take, 15 different triggers, whether that's speeding, hard braking, swerving, but then you want to put that in front of a driving analyst who then classifies that into a driving skill, right? And so, and determines, was it a driving skill that needs improvement, or was the driver really doing everything that they needed to? Because if the driver's doing everything that they need to, that's a great opportunity for a manager to congratulate the driver, but it's not something that you would penalize them in their driving, their driving profile. So what we do, in a managed service, we roll that into a driver performance profile so that you can understand for each driver what skills that they need improvement on. And if it's just a one-time thing, that may show up. But if it's a repeated, driving skill that they exhibit that they need improvement on, then that maybe is a different course of action. I think, one of the big trends for us and in the industry is, multifaceted. One is starting with driver self-coaching, whether that's real-time education in the vehicle, or a driver performance profile that they have access to on their mobile terminal or on their phone, so that they can self-manage. Commercial drivers want to be good drivers. They're self-motivated. This is an opportunity for the vast majority of them to take a look at that and be able to understand what's happening. Again, the game film for the driver, and be able to make those improvements. And then where there is intervention needed, it really, the approach is a constructive one. It's one where, hey, listen, here's things that you're doing well. Back to congratulating them for those situations that they handle extremely well. But then here's some areas of improvement, and watching that game film along with the data, and helping them understand things like proper following distance, safe merging in traffic, those defensive driving skills that are going to help them be more proactive in order to be able to mitigate those collisions and prevent those. Good defensive driving skills.
Right, for sure. No, I love the I love the game film for drivers. I think that's a really cool way to put it, because it is. I think whenever we write about it on Fleet Equipment or talk about it, the biggest problem is, okay, well, how do you act on it, right? It's great to see it, it's wonderful, but then you have to take something that is objective, visual, and sensor data, and now impact a human who's emotional and defensive, right?
Yeah.
So you mentioned a couple of tips there. Have you seen any other approaches or maybe tips for fleets on how to really do this well, right? How to build not just better skills and management, but kind of creating that trust and back and forth with the driver.
Yeah, I mean, I think what it really comes down to at the end of the day is, multifaceted approach. One, empowering the drivers to self-improve. That's a key component. That helps to build that trust. It's not this, we've captured something. It's really about how do we go from good to great. Then the secondary part of that really has to do with, for those drivers where there is additional training required, and how you're approaching that. That's really where, you know, it's not the, hey, I caught you speeding, right? It's, listen, in these situations, it appears that you're going a little bit too fast. And it could be, hey, they're on a downhill grade. Here's how you would manage your speed better. Here's the consequences potentially of doing that. And helping them to understand. In the case of, safe merging in traffic, that's a strong defensive driving skill. And that game film and the context in which you approach that coaching session with the driver really is around education, and not, hey, I caught you doing something. it's around that training and education of going from a good driver to a great driver. And I think that approach, that culture, that approach to the program is really what helps to reinforce it. And having that multi-level level approach ensures that your drivers know that you're paying attention, that you're incentivizing them, and that you're creating that training and safer environment. And that's really the collaborative focus between both of them. And I did mention incentives. That is one of the things we're seeing, even more commonly come. Whereas, moving from, the safety bonus per mile from collisions, moving to something like a safety score that is measured through one of these, through our system, and providing that financial incentive. That's another key driver.
For sure. One quick follow-up on there, because that's something that caught me that was interesting, the focus on the self-improvement. That means giving the driver visibility into the event, the data around it, even the recording and the video. How much visibility do you give them into it? Do you give them everything and then you talk about it? Do I, as a fleet manager, are there some that I'd want to keep behind my screen, or how much visibility is that?
Yeah, so we provide the flexibility in the platform for the fleets to decide what that level of visibility is. It could, and it depends on the fleet. It could be they provide each driver access to a driver application where they can see their scores and the reason why the scores and events were the way that they are, all the way up to access to specific video content for that event or that driving skill that's selected by the coach or the driver for them to be able to review with their manager or review in order to understand that context. So it's the platform provides a lot of flexibility, but it really is into how we're designing the program and how it works, and along with the fleet and how it works with them.
Right, for sure. And it makes a lot of sense too. I mean, even from my own point of view, if I know I have a tendency to do something, or I know I'm doing something that maybe I shouldn't, or even I'm not conscious of it, right? I don't have visibility into my own behavior. If I have the platform calling me out on it and go, oh yeah, okay, or even shoot my boss a note ahead of time, I got it, sorry, kind of thing. Definitely kind of makes that transition easier, I think, probably.
Well, it's definitely one where they aren't as noticeable at times of those types of things happening, and you know speeding on a downhill grade, you just may not consciously think, well, I don't speed, but you're not thinking about that. Or distraction's another one where it's, well, I'm tuning my radio. Well, that's a distraction. But many of us think that, well, me focusing on playing something on my playlist on my phone, that's a distraction. I picked up my mobile phone. I'm not looking at the road. It's a distraction. And so sometimes it's the context of different functions that people don't necessarily realize.
Right, for sure. Very cool. Jason, I want to thank you for taking the time to be with us here today.
Thank you.
Really appreciate it. Always great catching up.
Thanks.
And stay safe out there.